The way to try to quilt your ideas together is to write a complete idea on each patch. It's just an idea, though. We're not writing full paragraphs. And I use Post-it notes. I have different sizes, but when I'm trying to quilt, I just put an idea on each one of those Post-it notes. And usually it takes about 9 to get the ideas together. And I write quickly. I don't worry about punctuation or spelling. I'm just getting words or phrases down. And then I set those Post-it notes, those patches, down in front of me, and I can move them around until I'm happy with some kind of completed concept. Completed at the moment, y'all. It's still rough draft. And I can also add words or phrases and punctuate as needed when I'm completing the work. But I can add more patches as ideas grow. I'm going to give you an example of a quilted story verse, a quilted narrative verse that came from doing this exercise just for myself. It's called A Dream of Far Away. Ancient pines and wireless telephone poles line the edge of a trail, too narrow to be called a road. That trail parallels broken tracks, where coal-fueled trains once provoked a dream of travel and far away, punctuated by rattling wheel sets, chanting gone, far gone, now gone, far gone, now gone. And I think you can kind of see where I might have patched it together. One of the Post-it notes said ancient pines. Another one said telephone poles. Another one said a trail. I was going back through my mind, remembering places where I had walked when I would visit my great-grandparents in East Liverpool, Ohio. So what you're seeing is those patches moved around and quilted together. Now, let me stop sharing that screen and go back to the other screen. Here's an example for you of something that has not yet been quilted together. I put red roses in red because eventually that became the most important patch for me, which might be the title. It's definitely the theme of the writing. And then there are other patches there, you see. Bloomed, ancient, too, early, summer, fragile, quickly, gone. And that reads kind of like a list verse, but it's not completed. I put the red roses in the middle as the middle patch because that became what's most important. But I could have moved everything around in any way that I wanted. For example, and I hope this shows, these are 2 ways that I could twist those patches, move those patches around. This summer, only 2 red roses bloomed on the ancient rose bush and were quickly gone. Another option, I planted 2 rose bushes in my garden. This summer they bloomed, but there were only 2 fragile roses, and too soon they withered, seemed ancient, and were gone. So what you're going to do is gather your quilt pieces together and see if you can come up with an idea. Now, you could put more than a word or 2 on each one, but we're doing this the simpler way. So if an idea comes to you, for example, 2 roses bloomed, you would put 2 on one quilt, roses on another, bloomed on another. So you don't necessarily have to have a finished piece. You could add patches to it as you're working. Are there any questions on that? So see if you can come up with some ideas for yourself on those patches, which you're going to keep, and they could be incorporated into your writing. And this quilting works very well for writing short verse, but it also can extend into becoming an idea for example, a paragraph in your own personal narrative. And don't judge yourself. Don't think too hard. If you only get 2 patches written, it's all right. Because we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. We're going to go into one that's a bit more abstract. Oh, one other thing. If you're working on a story and you're feeling the urge to work on that rather than the exercises that we're doing, follow your heart. Work on your story. Work on your verse, whatever form the narrative might be developing. Keep an eye on what we're doing. Keep an ear open for what we're doing. But if something comes to you that touches your heart, go ahead and go with that. And we're just going to spend one more minute on this quilting concept and then move on to a string of pearls, which is a bit more abstract. I used to call this patchwork stories. And then I found out that in some academic settings and some high school settings and below that, I think the statements started with middle school or junior high school. Patchworking is actually these days taking the writing of someone else, putting it together for yourself, maybe adding some words that or sentences that connect things, or maybe changing a little word, a descriptive phrase, an adjective or two. But you've actually stolen somebody else's work and patched it all together. That's what patchworking means these days. And of course, it's copyright infringement. It can get you kicked out of school at the college level, or kicked out of class at the college level for just stealing somebody else's work. It's called plagiarism, okay? So I changed what I do to quilting so that there's no confusion on that. Any questions about that?